So I finally finished rewatching every single Pixar movie leading up to Luca, and I was a little late, it is what it is, but here's my ranking of all 24 Pixar movies from least favorite to favorite. What's going on, guys? I'm Chris. Welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be ranking all the Pixar movies. Over the past month of June, I've been watching all of them. I had seen every single one of them, and then I wanted to watch Luca, obviously, right when it dropped, and I had to watch Cars 3 for the first time. It's the only Pixar movie I had not seen leading up to Luca, so now I have finally rewatched/watched every Pixar movie. Whew, it's time to get in my ranking. I ranked them as I went along, so it was pretty easy. I didn't have to sit down and think, oh, what do I think of that movie? I had fresh thoughts in every single one. I have a letterbox review for every movie, so follow me there at Filmstock. But without further ado, I'm going to rank all 24 of these. There's going to be some steamy hot takes in here, I know, so I hope you guys enjoy and get your popcorn ready. This could be a little bit of a longer video. So coming in at number 24 for me, the worst Pixar movie is The Good Dinosaur. This movie is a complete snooze fest. I don't want to waste your time by talking about it too much, but I wrote in my letterbox review, it's the cure to insomnia. There's really nothing going for this movie. The characters are uninteresting. The plot is super boring, and it's a wannabe Lion King in a sense, so it had to come in at the bottom. It's pretty much a lifeless Pixar movie. Coming in at number 23 for me is going to be Cars 2. Now, this is infamous for being the worst Pixar movie. Most people have it at the bottom of their list, actually. The reason it's above The Good Dinosaur is because at least there's a somewhat of an entertainment value. I know that it's really outlandish for a Cars movie and kind of removes everything that makes the first Cars movie somewhat enjoyable. It's weird how they take on this spy route with Mater and Finn McMissile. It very much removes itself from racing, which is what makes the first Cars movie interesting, and Lightning McQueen is a side character, which is highly upsetting, but this movie is really frustrating and irritating at times. I'm not a fan at all. And also, I hadn't revisited it since theaters, which says something. Coming in at number 22 for me is going to be Brave. This movie, again, I hadn't seen in 10 plus years. I only watched it once. The movie honestly has some promise at the beginning. It feels very Braveheart-esque with the Scotland time period it's in, but then it's just a really weak plot. It turns into Merida walking around with a bear for the rest of the movie. It never really has any payoff or any stakes, and the movie honestly is quite boring. It lacks really any of that Pixar magic, and it feels more like a weak Disney animation film as opposed to Pixar. I don't know why this wasn't a Walt Disney Animation Studios project, but I'd be lying if I did not say the score slapped, because at times it honestly went pretty hard. Number 21 for me might be one of the hottest takes you will see in any Pixar ranking, and that is Luca, the newest Pixar movie. Honestly, this movie did not feel like Pixar to me. The first hour is so boring, and honestly, if you did not have the Pixar name attached to this, you might think it's a DreamWorks movie, Laika, or Studio Ghibli, because you could not tell it was Pixar, and that is a massive issue I have. I expect more from Pixar. There's not a lot of depth to the characters, and those emotional moments are really lacking. By the time we get to that final act that's actually kind of interesting, I don't care about any of these characters because they've done such a poor job of developing them throughout and rushing through things that are introduced in the first act with the parents that might actually set up stakes for this movie. To sum it up, it's an average animated movie, but a bad Pixar movie. Number 20, this is probably the hottest take I have in this video, is going to be WALL-E. I know this isn't most people's top 5, it's some people's favorite Pixar movie, but I've never been able to connect to this one ever since I first saw it as a kid. I rewatched it and I really had to push through because it is so boring. It puts me to sleep every time I watch it, and I acknowledge that there's sweet moments with Wally and Eve that can pull on heartstrings, especially at the end. It just doesn't work for me. I mean, I get the messages about humanity and our impact on society and especially the environment, but it feels like a Pixar short that was extended into a full feature film, and I'm not sure how that's possible. Overall, Wally is just uninteresting and bland to me, and I really wanted to love this movie going in because I know most people do. It's just not my cup of tea. Number 19 is Cars. While I did enjoy this movie quite a bit when I first came out, and Life is a Highway by Rascal Flatts is a certified bop / banger, whatever you want to call it, that song is actually better than this movie, and it's upsetting that this is so low. But while it does open with a bang with the race, and the ending is truly riveting with that race, the entire middle portion of this movie at Radiator Springs is a drag, and it almost feels like you're stuck in limbo, like in Inception. Like there's nothing happening at all, and you're stuck out in the desert in Radiator Springs, and it feels like you're abandoned watching this movie because it gets so boring at times. Doc Hudson's one of the cooler mentor figures, I will admit, but there's not much going for the first Cars movie. Number 18 for me is going to be Cars 3. Now, I actually watched this for the first time ever, literally a few days ago, and it's the best Cars movie, honestly. It has like Rocky vibes at times when you see Lightning McQueen's down and out as a bunch of new racers are coming in and taking the glory. I love how Lightning McQueen takes Cruz Ramirez under his wing and trains her, and I really enjoy that final race sequence, but a lot of the training scenes can get drawn out, and I'm just happy that they sidelined Tow Mater in this movie. But overall, it's still a Cars movie, and Cars is the weakest Pixar franchise by far. Number 17 for me is going to be Toy Story 4. I know this is going to upset a lot of people out there, but I am finally being honest about this movie. I've been in denial for so long about Toy Story 4 because it holds the Toy Story name in the title, and I love the first 3 movies to death. So seeing this, I was like, oh, I want to love this so bad. But it's truly one of the most unnecessary movies of all time. It's a shell of what the first three movies are because it lacks a lot of that magic. And it's essentially a Woody solo movie. If you really think about it, the gang that we all love and the camaraderie they have is removed from this movie. It's Woody going on his own journey. We love Buzz Lightyear, and he's barely in this movie. We do get introduced to Duke Kaboom and Ducky and Bunny, and they're pretty funny additions, but overall, I don't care about Gabby Gabby. Forky can be annoying at times, and it's just unnecessary. The franchise ended at Toy Story 3 for me, and it upsets me that this movie exists. It's more of an epilogue than an actual movie. Number 16 for me, another hot take, Soul, the newly released Pixar movie from last year that I'm just not crazy about. I really wanted to love it. It frustrates me because I really, really want to love this movie. Pete Docter's a great director, and the first act truly is compelling. You get to know Joe Gardner as a character, you see his love and passion for jazz, and they're doing a great job of world building with the great beyond and the great before, and seeing the gorgeous animation and hearing that beautiful score throughout the movie. I enjoy all those aspects, but as a movie, it really loses me in the second act. I just can't stand how there's a switcheroo where 22 is put in Joe's body and Joe goes into the cat body. It just feels so goofy and silly for a Pixar movie that's taking itself so seriously and talking about the afterlife. By the end, when there is that emotional moment that everyone raves about, it just doesn't land with me the way that it should, and it's a bummer. I really want to dig this movie. It's really lacking the Pixar magic in my eyes. There's not that moment where I cry or that moment where I'm like, oh man, this is Pixar at its best. And a lot of people have raved about this one, giving it 5 stars, and I totally respect that. It's really awesome to see that people love this movie, and I truly wish I did. Tenet should have beat it for best score. Come on. Number 15 is going to be A Bug's Life. I really enjoy this movie. It's basically an animated Seven Samurai, but it's one of the earlier movies from Pixar, only their second effort, and it's pretty impressive for your second movie. If you go back, the animation can seem a little dated at times, but there's a massive improvement from A Bug's Life to Toy Story when it comes to animation. I think Flick's a pretty compelling lead. I like also Hopper as a villain. He's pretty damn good. So overall, Bug's Life's a fun time. It's not the most rewatchable or even the most memorable Pixar movie, but it's really, really fun. Coming in at number 14 for me is going to be Finding Dory. I know this is probably lower on a lot of people's list, but I honestly was surprised when I rewatched this and enjoyed it quite a bit. The character of Hank the Octopus, he's almost the heart and soul of this movie, a great addition to the franchise, and Dory as a lead is the only issue that I have, though. She's more of a comedic side character in my eyes, so seeing her as the lead, it's almost like when Jack Sparrow becomes the lead in the later Pirates movies. It's kind of like, it was better when it was all this camaraderie with, the fish from the tank at the dentist office like Gil. Those characters add something to that first Finding Nemo, and this one was lacking it a little bit. Nemo's barely even in it, and he was the titular character of the first movie, and Marlin is again kind of sidelined too, so it's all about Dory, and as funny as she can be, it got a little irritating at times. Finding Dory, I think, was unnecessary, but by the end, I did have a smile on my face. Pixar knows how to use music well, and there's a few emotional moments that really kind of make you tear up in the eyes, like when she gets reunited with her parents. Coming in at number 13 for me is going to be the most underrated Pixar movie, in my opinion, or at least one of them, and that's Monsters University. This is like a prequel to Monsters, Inc. It is so good. I don't understand the hate for this movie. We get to see Mike and Sully as they hate each other, and then they become friends as they join Uzma Kappa and have to compete in the Scare Games. I'm invested in that Scare Games plotline. I just love stories like that, rooting for the underdog. We get to see Randall's origin here. Monsters University is one of the funnier Pixar movies. It builds up these characters. I can't wait for Monsters at Work. I think that show is going to be a bop. But Monsters University is a slept-on movie, and while it does have a little bit of drawn-out sequences toward the end with the cabin, I think that it's got a lot of heart to it. Number 12 for me, this might be a little low for some of you, but it's just the way I feel, and that's going to be Coco. This movie made me cry. I mean, it makes me cry every time I watch it. Remember Me is a gorgeously written song that has such an emotional impact, especially at the end when Miguel sings it to Mama Coco. Whew, getting chills and teary-eyed thinking about it right now. But it's really clever, too. There's a lot of twists and turns I didn't see coming the first time I saw it. And the music slaps. It's some of the best songs, not only in Pixar, but animated movies in general. So overall, Coco has a lot to say about living your life and not forgetting family, and it just hits different. Number 11 for me is going to be an absolute Pixar classic from my childhood, and that's Finding Nemo. This is super low, I bet, for a lot of you. I know it's some people's number 1. I just grew up with this movie, and honestly, I'm a little burnt out on it, and that's why it's a little lower on my list. It's a perfect story, in my opinion. It's a great movie. Bruce the Shark's iconic. You got the turtles with Crush and Squirt. There's so many iconic side characters, the School of Fish even, that just speaks to the quality of the movie itself and the iconic nature of it. It's quotable, just keep swimming, 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 and it's got great messages about life and persevering, but also it talks about parenthood and, having to let your kids go at a certain time in life, and that's why I feel like when I have kids one day, hopefully, this movie will resonate even more with me because I'll be like, okay, it's time to let my kids have a little leeway and to let them go. And that's a very hard part of life for a bunch of people, and I expect that one day I'll go through that. I think that it's an absolute classic, but I've seen the movie like literally 50 plus times at this point in my life, so it's just like, I get a little tired of it when I'm rewatching it, if that makes any sense. All right, so now we're getting into my top 10. Before I do so, definitely hit the like button, comment your ranking down below, and comment down below, hashtag Pixar Lamp if you're still watching. Number 10 for me is going to be Incredibles 2. I rewatched this the other day and I thought, wow, that's a completely different movie than I saw in theaters, because I thought it was all right in theaters, but this changed my view completely. It's one of the best Pixar sequels in my opinion. We get to focus on Elastigirl and she's a badass mom, but we all get to see Mr. Incredible being the best dad possible, or at least struggling with parenthood. I love seeing this different dynamic to the Incredible family. I think Screenslaver's a pretty solid villain, and the twists and turns they have are honestly quite clever. I did expect them at times, but it's still written well, and I think the action is awesome for Pixar. The plot compelled me from start to finish. I was really invested, and I like the final act on the boat and involving the plane. This is a really great Pixar movie, and in my life, there's movies where I won't watch it for 3 years. For example, this, I hadn't seen it since theaters, and then I'll go back and rewatch it and have a new appreciation for it because I'll be hearing negative things online, and I'll be like, did I not like that movie? That's not the case here. Incredibles 2 slaps. I hope we get a third movie sometime. Coming in at number 9 for me is going to be Inside Out, one of the most creative, unique movies from Pixar. What if feelings had feelings? Anger is a character I relate to almost too much. It's kind of scary. It's a testament to how unique and creative Pixar truly is. And Riley is a very relatable protagonist because she's a teenager who's moving and going through life, and that is something every person has to go through, changes in life. It's one of the saddest Pixar movies. I swear I cry every time. Take her to the moon for me. I'm going to cry right now thinking about it. Number 8 for me is going to be Toy Story 2. It's a damn good sequel. There's not much to say about it. It's got classic movie references, Zurgs, a new introduction. We get Jessie and Bullseye. When She Loved Me is a heartbreaking sequence in this movie. The Prospector is awesome. Al's Toyborn. I could gush about this movie for days, but if you want to hear my in-depth thoughts, check out my Toy Story ranking that I posted yesterday. Number 7 for me is going to be Onward. Now, this is a really hot take. I don't know why a lot of people dislike this movie. This is certified the most underrated, underappreciated Pixar movie in my opinion. In years from now, it will be the hidden gem from Pixar. I watched it for a third time yesterday. It makes me cry every time. That brotherhood relationship with Ian and Barley just hits different because I myself have an older brother, so I see that relationship a bit through the relationship in this movie. But it's not just about the emotions. I love the adventure vibe, the quest, and they keep encountering different obstacles. It feels like you're reading a Percy Jackson book when you watch this movie because there's so much great adventure at every twist and turn. By the time the credits roll, I've got a big smile on my face, my heart is warmed, and every time I rewatch it, it goes up higher and higher on my Pixar list. Number 6 for me is going to be Up, the movie that crushes your soul in the first 10 minutes with some of the best filmmaking we've ever seen from Pixar. This movie got nominated for Best Picture for a reason, and it won Best Original Score, rightfully so. Michael Giacchino crafts a masterful score here that acts as a character in the movie as it moves you to tears. If you remove the Michael Giacchino score, the married life theme, that sequence does not hold as much weight. But the character of Carl Fredricksen, seeing him deal with his life after his wife passes away, and him really wanting to know that adventure is out there and going for it, it's just inspiring, and that's what this movie does. It reminds me there's adventure out there to go out and chase my dreams no matter where I'm at in life. Up is a masterpiece in my opinion. From here on out, the rest of my movies are 5 out of 5 stars, by the way. So we're getting into the top 5 now, which is crazy, but I love this top 10, and all Pixar movies are really great for different reasons. Even the worst of the worst, which is The Good Dinosaur, has a few moments to shine, but not really. Number 5 for me is going to be The Incredibles, one of the best superhero movies of the century, honestly, and I forget about it when I talk about superhero movies because it's animated, but this movie is a banger. It's got some of the best animated action sequences ever. It's got one of the better scores too. I mean, this is an awesome, very spy-esque classic Pixar movie in my opinion. Syndrome's one of the better Pixar villains, and he's honestly like a Tony Stark did me wrong villain, but hey, I'm not complaining. If you look at the mold of the Iron Man villains, they're basically just Syndrome. Edna Mode is one of the most hilarious side characters. Robert Darling. It feels like a great superhero movie that you would see from the MCU or DC, but it's an animated form and it's Pixar. Number 4 for me is going to be Monsters, Inc. I literally could listen to the opening loop of Monsters, Inc., the music, for the rest of my life. No shame about it. Mike and Sully are probably my favorite Pixar duo. I gotta make that video. That'd be a great video to make. This is just a clever story, getting the scares from children to power your world, but then you find out maybe laughter actually works better. Randall's one of the better Pixar villains. Just seeing the duo of Mike and Sully as they go through hell once Boo arrives. A lot of adventure ensues. There's a bunch of plotting going on behind the scenes. A lot of sketchy situations regarding Monsters Incorporated. This is a brilliant Pixar movie. Just the concept alone of building doors and sending them through through the doors to get the scares. I don't know how people at Pixar think of this, but some of their early 2000s work is the most creative and unique. I remember having the VHS and watching it all the time. Monsters Inc. just slaps. Number 3 is going to be Toy Story, the one that started it all for not only Toy Story, but Pixar. It still holds up to this day. It's a testament to how great the computer animation is. Major props to Tom Hanks and Tim Allen for bringing Woody and Buzz to life. They're two of the most iconic Pixar characters of all time. This movie's hilarious. It's quotable. It's got the best callback in Pixar, in my opinion. This isn't flying, it's falling with style. That line gives me chills every time. This movie's lightning in a bottle. It's less than an hour and a half. It still holds up to this day. I could watch it pretty much every day for the rest of my life and be satisfied because it is so good. If you haven't seen Toy Story in a few years, I suggest you give it a rewatch because, man, it's a classic. Coming in at number 2 for me, my runner-up is going to be Ratatouille. This movie is perfect in every way. It reminds me to chase my dreams. It inspires me every time I watch it. The fact that a rat is pursuing his dreams to cook shows you that you can really do anything you want in life. Anyone can cook. It's such a unique premise of a rat being able to control someone's hair and make them cook. It's like, who the hell thinks of this stuff? Only Pixar, and it works. The score by Michael Giacchino slaps, but the song Les Festines is a certified banger. It's one of the best Pixar songs. I'll listen to that in my car. It'll take me to my happy place. This movie makes me want to visit France, makes me want to eat good food. And every time I watch Ratatouille, I want to sit down, have a glass of wine, and enjoy life for the next hour and 40 minutes. I think that it's slept on because it was honestly during a Pixar hot streak, so people kind of throw it under the rug, but Ratatouille is one of those movies that I go back to constantly. I feel happy. I feel inspired. I truly adore this movie. But coming in at number 1 for me, taking the top spot, has to be Toy Story 3. This is Pixar's crown jewel, in my opinion. It's a movie that resonates with me because I struggle with change in life and moving on, and that's the phase of life Andy's in right now. He's having to move on, and the final sequence where he's playing with the toys one last time, so long, partner. Man, it makes me cry every single time. Lotso's the best Pixar villain by far. The Sunnyside Daycare acts as a prison, and he's the warden. I said this all in my Toy Story ranking, by the way, so check it out up top. We see the stakes the highest they've ever been as the toys almost get killed in a fiery inferno somehow. Pixar really almost went there. Toy Story is my favorite Pixar franchise and some of my favorite animated movies ever. This is the best of that bunch, in my opinion. It's the perfect ending to this franchise. Toy Story 4 doesn't exist in my eyes because this ending is perfection. Whew, we made it. So that's my ranking of all 24 Pixar movies. This is going to be a longer video. I appreciate you if you made it to the end. Definitely hit the like button. Comment your ranking of all the Pixar movies down below. There's 24 of them, and who knows, next time I make this video, maybe there'll be 30 for all I know. Do you disagree with my ranking? Do you agree? It felt good to watch through everything and make a proper ranking. I almost didn't rewatch them all and made the ranking with Soul back in December, but I was like, no, I need to do a proper rewatch/watch of all these movies, and it was worth it. I'm really satisfied with it. I recommend doing a Pixar rewatch or watch through if you're thinking about it. Definitely consider hitting that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any future videos. But if you made it to the end, comment down below #Pixar for life, and I'll leave you with this: to infinity and beyond.